Average Joe's Drive-In is proudly sponsored by the Maine Cannababes. The Cannababes are a charity group of pro-cannabis women from the state of Maine who are bringing worthy attention to various causes in the medical cannabis community. This year, they launched their very first Maine Cannababes Pinup Calendar, which they are taking pre-orders for as we speak. All the proceeds from the calendar are going to worthy charitable causes. If you are interested in purchasing one or finding out more about the Cannababes, you can go to their website, www.maincannababes.com, or find them on most major forms of social media like Facebook and Instagram. If you order a calendar and enter the code word Average Joe's Drive-In, you could win a chance to get an autographed picture of your favorite Maine Cannababe. Once again, put in the code word Average Joe's Drive-In for a chance to win an autographed picture of your favorite Maine Cannababe.
Welcome to Average Joe's Drive-In,
Your weekly podcast of movies, music, games,
and other things entertainment related.
Now, your host,
TJ Washburn.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Average Joe's Drive-In. I am your host, TJ Washburn, and with me is my sister from another mister, Mrs. Rachel Leavitt. How are you doing today, Rachel?
I'm doing pretty good, DJ. How are you?
Oh, I'm not too bad. Not too bad. I had a bunch of errands and stuff getting done at the house today, so I had to come home a little early. So we're starting a little earlier than planned, but hopefully we might be having a few technical difficulties, but bear with us. I've known Rachel for a long time. We played in a lot of bands, in bands that played a lot of shows together. So her and I have known each other for many, many years. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about who you are, what you do, all that good stuff?
Sure. Well, let's see. I am a cosmetologist. I've been doing hair for pushing 10 years. I'm a musician, as you have stated, and I still sing in the Vid of Eru, and I'm also an artist. I have insomnia, so I paint. Lots of stuff.
Now, what got you into the cosmetology thing? Because I know, like, when we first met, you definitely weren't doing that. So you kind of got into that a little later on after I'd known you for a little while.
Yes. After my oldest child was born, my son Zachary, I wanted to find a career that was creative enough to meet my needs, but also paid my bills. And that was one thing I came up with, so I decided to give it a shot, and I survived, and here I am 9 years later.
Yeah, so you've been doing it for a while. And that's the thing, like, I don't think a lot of people, like I do, I think of it because I've seen, like, pictures you post and some of the stuff you do with it, but I don't know if a lot of people really think of hair as art, but I think it is, because you've got to kind of visualize and do something like, so how do you like incorporate your artistic vision into doing hair for somebody?
Well, it's not just the artistic vision, because of course that's your ultimate goal, but you also got to take the science behind hair in general as well as the science behind art, because there's a big science behind it. And like, I remember when I was just a little cosmetology baby per se, and we started our coloring module, and they busted out the color wheel, and everyone around me looked at it so confused, and I knew exactly what it was. So like, you take a blonde, for example, that has been brunette all her life, and you're trying to get her to this icy white blonde. You got to know what neutralizes like yellow tones, so you're going to look for your blues and your violets to get rid of certain tones. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's something I don't think a lot of people like think of, especially guys. I don't think a lot of guys would think of, the in-depth knowledge you need to have in order to do this, in knowing the artistic part of it, but then not even like with just the coloring, but the cutting part of it and knowing how to like blend things, and that all comes back to stuff you learned in art class, you know.
Absolutely.
Basically, a lot of it, yeah.
And in geometry, you use angles for hair cutting, and there's a lot of math in hair cutting.
So for any of my female listeners out there that are, or any of my listeners that are out there that are interested in hair, think about that. Learn geometry and art before you decide to do it.
Yep, you need to know your angles, and you absolutely have to know your color wheel. Have to.
Now, you actually taught cosmetology for a little bit, am I right?
Oh, yes, I didn't mention that. I do have a degree in cosmetology instruction, yes.
So, Rachel can teach you if you go to her with a bunch of money and maybe, bribe her somehow. She might be able to teach you how to do this sort of thing. So,
very true.
Now you also paint.
Yes.
And so, like, how long have you been doing that, and like, where do you draw your inspirations from when it comes to art?
Well, I've been doing that since I can remember, like all of my life. It's just something that's always kind of became a little natural, I guess. And when it comes to my inspiration, I don't know. I like contrast, as you know, and for those of you who do know me. And I like dark, pretty things. Not like I do. And everybody appreciates dark and gore and all that macabre stuff, and I love it. But I personally like to paint dark, pretty things, I guess. I don't know why.
I don't know, but like sometimes like your art is very like Tim Burton-esque to me.
I love him.
Like his, like that. Well, and what I mean by that is like your color palette and the way you shade and things like that. It kind of has that sort of vibe. That's what I've always felt. So
absolutely, he seems to be a huge fan of contrast and deep reds and dark purples and all that fun stuff. He's one of my biggest idols. I'm not gonna lie. I love that man.
Yeah, Tim Burton is like a mad genius. He's just one of those people that
I know
does a lot of really cool things.
He's like the Albert Einstein of the movie industry. I'm sure you've seen him. He just looks like he's never combed his hair and looks all crazy, but he's an absolute genius.
Yeah, I think that's what happened. He's Albert Einstein's, from what I've heard, couldn't tie his own shoes, but knew quantum physics, so
Yeah, he didn't. Albert Einstein didn't believe in brushing his hair, or it was either. I don't think he wore socks either, because he thought it was a waste of his time, and he could use it for other things. He was a really weird, but also really cool individual.
Right. The mad genius, kind of the. He's the like the epitome of like the mad scientist you see in a film, kind of that disheveled hair and just super smart and a bit off his keel, but at the same time like smarter than anybody else in the room.
Exactly.
So, now you have done some art, like show type stuff, where you did the Bangor Touring Comic Con this year.
Yes.
With your artwork. Have you done any other like things like that?
Not since then. It's in the works though. Like me and Jenny Plum are working on a couple of other things, and I'm definitely going to do that again next year. That was fun. So much fun.
Yeah. I always have a good time there, whether it be as a guest or a vendor. I've always had a blast with that. Chris and everybody involved does a great job putting that on.
Yeah, I was extremely impressed, because that was obviously the first year I did it, and me and Jenny kept, stay here for a second, I want to walk around, and sometimes we'd leave her husband there, and so we could both walk around and look at everything. It was super cool.
Yeah. That's the one thing sometimes about doing those sort of things like the Comic-Cons and stuff like that, is there's so much to see and do, but you can't leave your table a lot of times. You're kind of there. I mean, that's what you're there to do, but ultimately you're also a fan, and you want to, and you kind of want to go see other stuff as well and mingle a little bit.
Right.
So that's always the conundrum that I found when vending.
Exactly. I want to do. I won't be able to do it this year because it's literally in just a couple of weeks. But I want to do the Rock and Shock in Massachusetts.
In West.
Yes, and I met a cartoonist down there who, he sat right across from our booth, and his name is, or I can't remember his last name, but his first name is Brian, and he came over and he said, I do Rock and Shock every year. Have you ever heard of that? And I told him no, and he highly recommended it for me, and he said it was a horror convention, and I said, I don't think my stuff would do good there because it's not gory, and he said, no, it's all about, like, dark, weird stuff, and you would do good.
It's not just a horror convention either, though. There's a ton of bands, like Guar plays it a lot, the Misfits.
Right.
Bands, like all those types, a lot of bands like that play, and then they have all the artistic stuff and like the con thing kind of going on at the same time.
I want to do it.
But I've never been. I've always wanted to go because it looks like it would be just like a ton of fun, but I've never had the chance to do that myself. So
yeah, it wasn't in the cards for me this year because a table is like $200, but
yeah,
I didn't have enough time to plan accordingly. But definitely next year.
That's one of those things too that it's. While the cons are a lot of fun to do, it does cost money to do them unless you are like a huge celebrity that's getting paid to be there. So
right?
If you are a vendor, it costs money to do. So it's always and then you got to figure in your travel and your hotels and things like that.
Indeed.
So, like I was discussing with Amanda Call when I had her on. It's almost like a working vacation type thing, and you have to really plan accordingly because she does a lot outside of Maine and travels all over the place. So
yeah, I can only imagine. It is intense. That's why I thought, I'm gonna wait. I'll do that next year.
You also have been acting in a film recently too, correct?
Oh dear, yes.
So did I catch you by surprise with that question?
You did, yes. Because I don't really act in that one. Not very, well, I'm in it. I'm just a very creepy, silent doll character because my laugh is super creepy and obnoxious by nature, so it works out perfect. So,
hey, there you go. Anyway, you gotta break into it.
I guess so. It's a ton of fun, though. It's a blast.
Yeah, and Jenny mentioned that when Jenny was actually my first guest, so she was mentioning it back then when she was on about it and just kind of told everybody a little bit about the film and all that. So, but I just was curious because I hadn't really talked to you at all about that since it's been going on. So
when I wasn't entirely intrigued by the whole idea when it was first mentioned to me, I thought, I don't know. And then when I saw the photos from the first shoot that they did on Jenny's property, I was like, oh my God, I've got to get in on that. That looks like a ton of fun. Who doesn't want to leave at the end of the day just covered in fake blood and had a blast running around in the woods? Like, that's fun. Or it's fun to me.
Oh, yeah. I've been in a couple short films and stuff, and I had to have makeup and all that stuff done because of the characters I was playing, and it was a blast when we did it. I had a really good time, and it's definitely a different type of experience. So.
Yeah, I can definitely agree. I had to learn how to throw people that are double my size and make it look real and things like that. I don't really speak much at all during the film. I'm not the best of actresses, but I can sit there and look creepy if I'm provoked enough, I guess. I don't.
Now, your sister is also in this too, correct?
Yeah. I wish I could tell you guys what she has to do to me, but I can't. No, you don't.
You don't have to give anything away. But I was going to ask you. So, That must be kind of cool, too, being able to work with your sister on, like, an acting project as well.
Absolutely, and it's hilarious because you know my sister, and for those of you who don't, let me just paint the picture. She's like the girl next door. She's the blonde beauty that got good grades in school, and she's doing this film where she's covered in blood and says insane stuff, and it's awesome.
And Renee, from the times that I've ever hung out with her, is very pretty. She's kind of laid back and quiet too.
Oh yeah.
Anytime that I've ever been around her, she doesn't really. She's not like one of those real in your face type people like you are. You're pretty bubbly and up front.
She's my polar opposite, but she's one of my best friends. I don't know how it works, but it does, and she is my little sister. But you're absolutely right. She's wicked mellow and chill and just kind of goes with the flow. And I guess you kind of have to be if you married a man like Richard Traves, because he used to be extremely eccentric back in the day.
Yeah. From the years that I've known him, I kind of can agree with you there. So yes,
or at least compared to her.
Now, also, you've recently kind of got into doing some modeling and stuff too, as well. So you are a woman of many talents.
Yes, I guess. Sure.
So like, tell me a little bit about how that whole thing come about, because you are on the main Canababes 2018 calendar, correct?
Yes, that's a long story. Actually, not a long story, but it's a story.
And the Canababes are a sponsor of Average Joe's Drive-In. So when you guys listen to the ad at the beginning of the show, the lovely Rachel is one of the models for that calendar.
Yep,
so.
Miss October, and it was totally not planned that way, but it ended up being
I said
perfect.
that's totally appropriate for you. So
yeah, it was interesting, and I wasn't supposed to model in it at all. I was just hired for the hair, but one of the girls couldn't make the shoot time, and Jenny asked me if I'd do it, and I'm just a weirdo that has lots of Halloween stuff anyways, so it worked out great.
Good. That's awesome. I'm glad to see you, like, spreading your wings and doing some different things and getting out there.
Yeah, it's been fun. I've been busy.
Yeah. So, what I'm going to do right now, before you and I talk about it too much, we're gonna have, the other day I actually played like the first song I've ever played on the show, and I've never played like my music from any of the bands I've been in or anything like that.
You haven't?
No, I've never done any. I don't usually even play music on the show, but when I have musical people on, I think I'm gonna throw on like a song and stuff from now on. Just because I can, and it's my show, and I'll do whatever the hell I want.
Absolutely.
So, little story about this song. Almost every album any of the bands I have been in has done since I've known Rachel has done like a guest spot on the album. And when my band In the Kingdom of Nightmares recorded our full-length album, well, excuse me. Oh, I burped. Sorry. When we get our, I'm sure that's going to sound awesome on
it.
It
didn't sound weird on my end, so.
No, good. Maybe I muffled it enough, but so yeah, when my old band In the Kingdom of Nightmares did our full-length album, we had a song called The Fallen on there, and Rachel always used to do another song with us live called The Series of Uncomfortable Feelings, and so we ended up having Rachel come on when we were recording the album, and she actually did some vocals on the song The Fallen. So you guys are going to get to be terrified and laugh at my awful vocals and Rachel's beautiful singing voice.
I like that song.
I love that's actually like one of my favorite songs. That's probably my favorite song on that album, actually.
It is one of mine too. And I'm not usually, when I hear myself, I'm like, ugh. But when I heard The Fallen for the first time after like Levi did his stuff to it, I was like, yes, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, Levi did a great job with the vocals on that album. That is definitely like my favorite vocal performance on any album I've been a part of. So with that being said, enjoy. This is The Fallen by In the Kingdom of Nightmares featuring Miss Rachel Leavitt. All right, welcome back, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed that song, and if not, maybe you ran away and hid in a corner, fast forwarded, I don't know. But I can't tell because I can't see what you're doing. But I hope you enjoyed it anyway. So this gives us it's a good segue into talking about the whole music thing. So we started playing shows together. I think it was 2005.
Oh my!
When we started doing shows, or 2006.
That makes me feel old. It was 2005. It was the very end of 2005. It was December. I'll never forget it. It was December 29th. I'll never forget that, only because I was like, crap, they had a band drop. What are they going to do? And they were, I think it was Bruce that said something like, they're going to find somebody else to do it. And it was you guys.
We were like the go-to band for them for a long time for like metal shows because we would play every show that got thrown our way.
Right.
That was, we were just kind of starting out at that point. So we ended up on a lot of shows with a lot of bands we became really good friends with because of that sort of thing.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, like I got people I still talk to from high school and stuff, but the best friends I've ever made was people that I've met through my band in other bands.
Yeah, same with me. Music, most of my, not all, but most of my really close friends are people that I played music, played shows with, or, that I've stayed fairly good friends with over the years. And from, like, we just, like, we hit it off really well right from that first show. And it was like we became buds, and then all of a sudden we were playing, like, all kinds of shows together. And, like, the next 6-7 years, we played a pile of shows together. So.
Oh, my word. It's been a long time. Holy crap.
it has. Now, so tell everybody a little bit about, obviously they just heard you sing. So tell everybody a little bit about, like, like some of the bands you've been in and what you're doing now with music.
Oh, dear. Well, let's see. In high school, I was in a bunch of poopy bands, like all musicians do. And then you kind of evolve. And then I was in the Divine Ruin, which was the band that played with Sir TJ's band here, or bands, because we played with Tomorrow's Tragedy and we played with In the Kingdom of Nightmares. And we did stuff from the summer of 2005. I think when we decided to stop doing it, I want to say it was either 2011 or 12, because we were at it for a good 6-7 years. And since then, me and Max McFarland, who was my bass player in The Divine Ruin, have been working on a new project, and it's called The Bit of Eru. And right now it's just me and him, and we're being really picky about who we want to join in on this with us. So far it's just me and him, mainly him just writing all the music and me doing all the vocals and the melodies and the lyric writing.
Yeah, Max is a very, very talented guy. He
makes me sick.
And he's a giant because Max is literally 6'9".
Yeah, he's literally like a couple of centimeters away from being 7 feet tall.
Yeah, he's a very, very tall guy. He actually played bass with Tomorrow's Tragedy for a little while and filled in for us right near the end of the band.
That's right. I remember that.
Yep. Yeah, he did 3 or 4 shows with us, I believe. Actually, I think he did a couple double duty shows with you guys and us. And like you guys like at the time were like one of the few like prog metal bands around too when we started. Maybe you guys and like Last Chance to Reason, but outside of that, there wasn't a lot of bands in Maine that did that style of music. So you guys always kind of stood out. And you were like the only female metal vocalist that I can remember too for
in
a
Maine.
very long time.
Well, there was that
in
girl
Maine,
from what were they called, Siren, with like a P or something like that.
I don't remember.
It was that was the Oakfield show for that. I don't know why I remember random things that happened like 10 years ago. Forgive me, but her name was Cassidy, and it was at the Oakfield show all the way up north for a family whose farm and house burnt down. And this was during Tomorrow's Tragedy days. This is a long time ago.
I honestly can't remember.
But
we played so many shows up there that I don't remember. Yeah.
Right? No, I remember that one because we ended up having to like camp out on this girl's lawn because we didn't have anywhere to stay.
Yeah.
We were so broke.
I kind of remember the show, but I don't really remember.
Yeah, Novus played it.
Remember the show? Yeah, I think Red Cloud played that show too.
Yep, and there was a lot of people were drunk and fights broke out and stuff near the end of it. It was weird because it was in a rec center. So yeah,
with the Oakfield Community Center.
Yes, that one.
Yes. Yeah, we played a lot of shows there over the years. That was always a really fun place to play.
Yes.
It was in the middle of nowhere. We used to have like huge turnouts there all the time. It was great. So we actually did like both our bands' like first tour we ever did was together. The Summer of Ashes tour.
Oh, it's killing me. So true.
And I will always remember that tour specifically for the reason of our good friend Austin, who is no longer with us, who passed away this last spring.
Right.
Sticking the porno mag in the van window and us driving all the way through Portland with this like busty or whatever it was like stuck in the window, and just I can't believe we didn't get pulled over by the cops or somebody. And the skeleton we had on the Gus.
Yes,
our
Gus.
skeleton Gus that we had on the back of the van that had the piece of chicken in his mouth for like 5 days. I will always remember. And there's, if you go and look online on YouTube, there is a video. I think it's called like "What Happens on Tour" or something, and it's us barbecuing at our friend Ken.
Yeah,
house.
that's right.
And we like make this little impromptu like movie thing, and because we were bored and it was like 2:00 in the morning,
right?
We had played a show for like nobody, and we were just hanging out and having fun and being goofy. And I think Matt Enos might have put that up. So
I think he did. I think you're right. He's got a lot of stuff up there. And if you haven't seen his new show, you totally should. The Slim Duffy Show.
Oh yeah, I've watched some of it. It's very funny. So I'm going to give a quick shout out to Matt Enos. Go on YouTube if you like really like off the keel weird comedy type things.
Right.
Look up the Slim Duffy Show on YouTube and watch it and just enjoy the magic that is the Slim Duffy Show, because it's funny as all shit.
Right.
So.
I feel like there's always been 1 out of 2 reactions when it comes to people who watch it. They either are completely repulsed or they laugh their like rear ends off. I'm the one who laughs my rear end off because I know all the people and it's so funny.
Yeah. It's one of those. It's kind of. It's not like Trailer Park Boys, but it's that same style of humor, I guess.
Yes.
I think is kind of very similar to that. So if you like Trailer Park Boys, you'd probably dig that too.
Right, with like a bloody twist to it.
Yeah, it's. I've only watched a couple of them because I'm horrible at keeping up with that stuff. But the ones I watched, I really enjoyed. So.
Oh gosh.
And Matt has a really like twisted sense of humor.
I know, I love it. I absolutely love it. Every time there's a new one, I immediately click on it and I drop everything that I'm doing and I take the few minutes to watch it because it seriously makes my day.
So how did you originally like get into doing music? Was that something you like have always been into music, or is it something that kind of came along later on?
No, it definitely like I'm trying to think. I've always had an interest for it, but my stepfather, while I was growing up, was huge into music, and he was always a DJ. He had all these like crazy old records and this huge library of music. So I grew up around it, and then I remember, oh man, it was like 4th grade that I actually could get my own first instrument, and of course I went with the flute like most little girls do. And from there I learned, the flute and the clarinet, and goodness, I learned a few others. And then from there, I grew up and my voice matured and I started singing. And that's how I got into singing.
You also play keyboard and bass too, correct?
I can play bass. I'm nowhere near as good as Max. And I'm definitely...
Well,
yeah.
Rachel, very few people I know are as good as Max. That kid is amazing. I call him a kid because he's so much younger than I am.
I know. That kid just had a baby. It's crazy.
Yeah, he's... Max is like one of the most talented bass players I've ever played with, and I feel lucky. Like I've played with some really good bass players.
Right.
And Max is Max is one of those people you watch him play. He plays an 11-string bass, and he actually uses it. It's not just for show.
Right.
You know, it's he does some crazy stuff on it, and just a very talented musician. He comes from a very musical family, though, if I remember correct. So
he does. His father is very musical, and his father's awesome.
Yeah, I've heard him mention it before, but I've never heard really anything they've done or anything like that. So.
Right, but I'm nowhere near as good as him, but I can pick up a bass and carry a very basic bass line, and I can play super acoustic guitar. I know my chords and stuff like that. So I know a little bit of it all, but I just progress at singing basically.
Yeah. I kind of come to the conclusion when I was a freshman in high school. I always wanted to play instruments. I just never had the patience to do it, and I could never. I tried really hard, but I just never seemed to be able to progress and beyond a basic route. I can play, but not very well. But screaming and hollering always come very, very natural to me. So,
right.
I'm not a great singer, but I can scream pretty well. So that's why I think I always gravitated towards stuff. I mean, I don't think I'm a terrible singer, but I'm definitely not as good as a lot of people. So
I love singing, but screaming was just something I wanted to master because a kid in my class, it was when Kitty, you remember who Kitty is, the band?
Yes, I played a show with them, and I've seen them a few times.
I have too. Not a show, but I've seen them live before. When they first came out, this kid in my class was totally making fun of him, and I asked him what was the big deal, and he said, girls shouldn't scream like that. So I learned how to scream so I could be a spiteful individual for fun.
Rachel became a screaming metal vocalist out of spite.
Pretty much, yep.
So, yeah.
I'm not going to lie.
Vengeance is hers, so saith the Rachel.
Right. But I love metal music. I always have. I just didn't think I'd ever explore that until that moment.
So, hey, somebody making fun of that ended up being the catalyst for you getting to do all this cool stuff in bands. And so, hey, you can thank them for being an asshole.
Hats off to you. Thanks, man.
Thanks for being a dick. You led me down a fun path.
I've had to stop myself from swearing on here a couple times.
Oh, that's don't worry about it. You could say gosh and darn and heck and all kinds of stuff. No worries. I'm not going to censor you.
That's good, because I don't have a very clean mouth, I guess. Got a potty mouth.
I think Rachel was going to be a nun, before the devil music took over. And,
oh, yeah.
Mother Rachel, she was going to be the next saint, and then metal music warped her and led her down a dark, twisted path in life.
Yeah, and now
I don't know where I'm going with this, but I'm just...
It's hilarious.
I'm ad-libbing. So yeah, I want to get into the talking about movies here a little bit.
Definitely.
Because I've been dying to talk about this film with somebody, and my friend Jay Cochran from Holy Filth was on, and he hadn't seen it yet, so I couldn't talk with him about it. And I just saw this last Friday. So, what is the new Stephen King movie? And by the way, before we talk about this, I would like to wish the Master of Horror a very happy 70th birthday.
Happy birthday!
Even though I know he's probably not listening to the show, that would be cool if he was, but probably not. But still, I want to wish Mr. Stephen King a happy 70th birthday, and thank you for all the amazing inspiration and books and everything you do for the state of Maine, because you are pretty much like a national treasure as far as I'm concerned.
Can't believe he's 70.
You put he pretty much put the state of Maine on the map, because if it wasn't for Stephen King and L.L. Bean, I don't think too many people would even know what the hell Maine even was.
Right, and our blueberries.
I think a lot of people just assume we're a part of Canada, and don't even realize we're part of the U.S. most of the time.
It's
Don't get me wrong, I love Canada. I'm a huge fan of the Canada, but
Canada.
The Canada. Yes, big fan. I love Canada. But so happy birthday, Mr. King. And so we're going to discuss his new movie, It, which if you have not seen this movie yet, in my honest opinion, if you like horror movies, you need to go to the theater and see this, because this was flat out one of the funnest horror movies I've ever seen in a theater.
Absolutely was.
I mean, it's chock full of laughs. It's creepy as shit. It's just, it goes by really quick. Like, it's 2.5 hours, a little under 2.5 hours.
Yep.
And I thought the movie, like, flew by. So right now we're going to discuss It. So if you haven't seen the movie, I'm just giving you a fair warning. We're going to throw some spoilers out there.
Right.
And,
shut this off now.
So shut it off now if you don't want to know what's happened. If you've never read the book or seen the seen the mini-series before, there's a lot of different stuff in this as well. So just giving you a heads up. If you've already watched it, then keep listening. If not, we warned you. So, so what were your general thoughts on this? I want to get your impression before we get discussing in depth.
I thought they did an absolutely amazing job with it, and I really can't wait, because, that was the whole, chapter 1 thing, and I'm assuming, or at least I'm hoping, what they come out with next will be when they're adults and everything.
Yeah.
But I absolutely loved it. I loved everything from the new Pennywise to the kids, especially the funny kid. He reminded me so much of what my husband may have been like when he was younger.
Finn Wolfhard
yes.
from the TV show Stranger Things was awesome as Richie. He was hilarious.
He did
the whole theater kept busting out inaudible laughter whenever he was talking.
And it was just this snarky, one-liners that most little boys or young adult boys would say. It's just awesome.
And that's the thing, they totally nailed the young kids hanging out and how they talk to each other.
Right.
Because that's pretty much how me and my friends talked to each other when we were that age, well, that's not what your mom said last night. That's the type of stuff we all used to say to each other, at that age.
What's that medication you have there? Birth control? I laughed so friggin' hard at that remark.
The part that killed me the most, though, was when he's talking to Eddie's mom, and she's like, "Come give me a kiss. Would you like me to come give you a kiss too?" And he's just
so true. They did such a good job with it. I really liked the movie personally. I thought they did really good.
I love the young actress that played Bev. I thought she was phenomenal.
Yeah, she was great, and she definitely she played, unfortunately, an abused individual very, very well.
Yeah, and as pretty much the only female lead in the film, she really carried. She really carried it well, and she was. I think she's gonna be quite a star going forward. She's got that, I don't know what you want to call it, and no pun intended, but she has it.
Right.
Whatever you want to call that. She has that, and I think she's going to be quite a star going forward. I feel horrible. I can't remember what her name is, but
I can't either.
She was phenomenal, but I like the little changes and the updates to it to kind of, put it in the 80s instead of the 50s like it was in the book.
Yes. And
I really like the fact that while I know, in the book and in the miniseries it kind of bounces back and forth between adults, kids. I kind of like the fact that and I've heard a few people bitch about this, but I kind of like the fact that they did all the stuff with the kids as one part.
Right.
And then maybe do just the adult stuff in the second part. I kind of like that aesthetic because it gives you a chance to really kind of get to know the kids and see what happened to them without it bouncing back and forth and back and forth.
Right, and see what their lives are kind of while being raised and things like that, which will obviously explain why they're like the way they are when they're older. And I just think I got my fingers crossed that it's the adult time next time.
And the good thing is while they didn't spend a lot of time with the kids on their home life, there was like a brief glimpse, just enough so you kind of got to know. Other than with Bev, I think Bev and Eddie were the two that they really kind of focused on their home life a little bit more because of what was going on with them. Obviously, Eddie's like the his mother's kind of turned him into a hypochondriac type thing, and and Bev with the abuse part of it, which that was creepy as shit because I don't remember that even being in the book. I was
gonna say that I didn't remember that being even in like the older movie either.
I remember it's been a long. I just started rereading the book because it's been probably 24 years since I've read it.
Oh jeez.
It's been quite a while, but I remember, like, if I remember correctly, in the book he was an asshole, but I don't remember that, like the implied sexual abuse part of it being in there. And
right.
It was just that to me was just really that was creepy as shit, and it added like a whole other layer to that character, and kind of like why she was never really like wanted to be home.
Right.
that whole thing.
Exactly.
So the interactions with Bill and Georgie were great. I like those.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I liked those too. I really liked everything about it. I thought they did just super, super good.
The scene with them. Now, the other thing from the book, there was a lot of stuff that I remember from the book, like not so much super, super detailed stuff, but like basic idea scene type things. Is like their whole final confrontation with Pennywise was very different from the book.
Oh, was it? Because I don't think I've ever read the book.
I don't really remember them mentioning the whole. Really like visually explaining the whole, like you never really saw the kids floating. I don't think in the book. I don't think that was ever, like that big like swarm of kids floating like that. I don't remember that from the book. Granted, it's been a long, long time. And if I remember correctly, like Pennywise wasn't even the clown when they faced him the first time.
He was a spider, wasn't he?
That spider creature weird ass thing.
Yeah.
That was some of but I like those changes. I thought they were just. I think it flowed better. I just not to write off like what Stephen King wrote, but I think the way they did it in the film transferred better as a visual than what he describes in the book, because that's the big thing in a lot of Stephen King movies that I feel like they kind of miss is they try to go either too by the book or way the hell off the rails.
Right.
They don't find that happy medium, and when Stephen King translations work great from the book to the movie, it's kind of a fine blend between those two things. Like they keep the basic aesthetics in the core of the story, but they change a few little things like that you may not be able to really do visually in the film to make it work for the film. Like Pet Sematary is a prime example of that.
I love Pet Sematary.
which is one of my favorite King adaptations. Misery is another one that they did a phenomenal job with on that. Where they changed just enough of it to make it a little bit fresh and kind of make it more pleasing to a visual aesthetic compared to a mental imagery aesthetic when you're reading.
That's true.
I think that's where they really excelled with this. And the rock fight scene was awesome because I'm gonna say right now, best use of an Anthrax song in a movie ever. I'm not sure I've ever heard another Anthrax song used in a movie, but Yeah, best Anthrax song use in a movie ever, as far as I'm concerned. So I love that. I thought that fit so perfect when that rock fight the way it kicks in and that's the thing, man. Henry Bowers is more like Henry Bowers in the book, from what I remember. Like, Henry Bowers is a sadistic son of a bitch. When he's sitting there carving the H into Ben's stomach.
Yes, he's a little shit.
He's just a little asshole.
Right.
Just the whole, that whole thing with him. I think they really nailed his character.
Oh, yeah. The
better.
actor did. The people who wrote it did. Oh, my word. Watching him do it, I was just pissed. I was like, wow,
and I think that's more and that's really, from what I remember, that's how King wrote him in the book. He was an asshole in the book. And the whole... and then you have that scene with him carving the H in Ben's stomach, which is hard to watch. I mean, I'm a horror movie junkie, and that's hard to watch because they're kids. It's just like, oh, that's brutal. But you can tell there's something not quite right in the town, because, like, the car drives by, the people just ignore it and don't, So like with the adults, it's kind of a subtle thing, or the mother standing outside the school waiting for her daughter that's not going to show up, and
right.
There's all that stuff. Like, there's just something, like, it's just I think it captured that part of it really well. Like, they're kind of almost oblivious or in denial that there's bad things happening.
Yeah, exactly. Or they know and they just choose not to address it.
If I ignore it, it's not really happening type thing.
Right.
Yeah, so I absolutely love it, and I'm gonna try and go one more time and see it in the theater before it goes out, because I just enjoyed it that much, because it's been a long time since I've actually gone and seen a movie twice in the theater.
Actually, I think it's been a long time for me too.
So I may go here sometime in the next week or so before they pull it, and
it was definitely good. I really like the guy they had play Pennywise too.
Bill Skarsgård.
I didn't know how to say his last name because he's a Swedish actor, right?
Yep, his like whole family is all actors.
Ah.
His dad has been in a ton of movies. He was in Thor.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, his dad is in Thor. I can't remember what part he plays, but he is in Thor. He's got a couple of brothers, I think, that are actors. And I'm trying to remember I think his dad's name is Peter Skarsgård.
They've got such basic names for having Skarsgård as their last name.
I wondered if it's one of those things where it's like they use a stage name because it's easier to pronounce.
Probably.
Maybe. I'm not sure. I've never really looked into it that
Bill,
much. But
Peter Skarsgård.
But that his facial expressions and stuff make that are so creepy. Excuse me. And something I noticed, and I don't know if you've really paid any attention to it. I know you're really busy, so you don't, with the kids and the business and all this stuff. But, a lot of people are bitching, they like Tim Curry's Pennywise better, or, I was like, I like both of them. Tim Curry's version of Pennywise was the best thing about the miniseries, in my opinion, the way he played it off.
Right, and it was extremely or equally as terrifying in my book. I remember watching that movie when I was much younger and being absolutely scared out of my mind when Tim Curry, there we go, was Pennywise. But they're both awkward actors. Like, they're very awkward-looking individuals.
And their mannerisms, just the mannerisms and the way they use their voices is what made that like that creepy ass smile he does is.
I know, and
it's like the rabbit teeth thing, and it's just it's both great performances. So stop trying to compare them; they're two separate things. Fucking enjoy them. So I'm telling you, God damn it! No, so. Yeah, I enjoyed both of them. I thought they were equally as good. The miniseries and this are two completely different films. I'm not even counting them.
Right?
They're just different films based on it. The miniseries is okay. I don't think it's great.
Right.
I do enjoy it. I've watched it many times, but I thought this version overall was way better and more true to the book because it was rated R. They were able to do more that you couldn't do on a television miniseries.
It's very true. Yeah, they did a lot of. I remember like that first scene when Georgie meets Pennywise and him like trying to get away and crawling with just his one arm. I was like, holy fuck, this is going to be great.
When they rip a kid's arm off that's like 8 years old in the first, like 15, 20 minutes of the movie, you know that, all right, they're going to go there. They're not afraid to, they're not afraid to do some crazy shit with this. So.
Exactly. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be fucking sweet.
So I'm really interested to see, if they're going to keep that kind of brutal tone going in the second part, because the second part is just as, really is just as brutal as just them as adults.
Right, exactly. I'm super excited to see what they do next. I'm literally like biting my nails over it because...
maybe it doesn't have quite the same effect because it's adults, and I think sometimes when it's kids, it makes you a little more, like, and I know it does me. Anytime you see, like, bad shit happening to kids in a horror movie, it kind of just creeps me out a little more. So
no, I agree with that. It's like that the parental instinct that all of us carry just because we're human beings. It's...
like when a 20-year-old in a film goes and something bad happens, it's like... we all know it's a movie. It's not real. I'm like, well, she had a good run. When it's a 12-year-old and that same thing happens, it's like, poor kid never had a chance.
Right.
You're almost thinking like the kid never had a chance, man.
Exactly.
It's a movie, but it's a movie, and that the actor's perfectly fine. They're okay, but you're just like, you just get that natural instinct. At least I do, to be like, oh, Jesus, So
I do too. I was actually, because ever since I've had children, I feel a little more, intensely towards stuff like that. And I was like, I really want to see this movie because I remember seeing the old one. I loved the old one. I want to see the new one. And I thought, well, hopefully I don't go to the movie theater and be a bitch and bitch out because I got kids now and I'm a pansy or something. But I wasn't. I was fine. I was good to go.
Yeah. So yeah, we're. I know you got some things to do, and we were a little late getting going because of some technical issues, which I think pretty much stayed away. There was a few parts, but I think for the most part it's okay. Before you go, do you have some websites and things you kind of want to pimp out a little bit so people can find you on the web?
Sure. Well, I can shout out some of the stuff on Facebook, 'cause that's kind of where I primarily operate and run most of my stuff. But if you're ever wondering how to look up like my cosmetology, you can always look up Rachel Leavitt Styles at Rumor Has It, and you'll see tons of super fun hair colors and cuts and photo shoots that I've worked on. You can go to find our well, at least me and Max's newest music. You can search The Bid of Eru, which Eru is just E-R-U, literally. You can kind of creep us out on there too. And for some art, I really just have that on my personal page. So if you really want to get creepy, you can creep me, I guess. But I'm going to let you try to figure that one out. Rachel can join what all the popular kids are doing these days, and you can get the Instagram and make an art page on the Instagram. Oh, yeah, that's right. Maybe I should do that.
So I'm using my old man terminology, the Instagram, the Facebook, the Canada,
Well, me and Jenny, we do have, when we do band together, we do have a page called The Divine Fandom on Facebook that you can look and see some of my work on there. But I guess it looks like as soon as I'm getting off here, I'm going to go make an Instagram account and make an art page.
I will throw the links up in the profile when I post this, so people can just click on them and go to them and not have to search. But not everybody does that. So that's a better way to do that. I just want to quickly say, right now, I don't ever really promote my own stuff, but right now, currently, if you like horror, novels, books, stories, whatever, most of my writing stuff is on sale for 99 cents for Kindle. That's my novels, short stories, and novellas. You can find that at Amazon.com/author/Thomas Washburn Jr. 99 cents, even if you hate it, please give it a shot and check it out. And if you do like it, leave a review on Amazon, because that is a huge help for authors. Reviews help get us up further in the searches and stuff like that, because there's a lot of authors on there. Also, check out thomaswashburnjr.com. Hit us up on the send friend and like the Average Joe's Drive-In Facebook page. It's just Average Joe's Drive-In Podcast on Facebook. Also, hit me up on Thomas Washburn Jr. on Instagram. I have a Twitter. It's just TWJ Author. Very seldom I'm ever on there, but hit it up anyway. And I'd like to thank my sponsor, the Maine Cannababes. Please go support them. You can check them out at maincannababes.com. Order a calendar. They have other merchandise, so you can see a bunch of beautiful ladies doing stuff for a great cause. And
I'm pretty sure it's like half the price, too. I want to say they're like $12.99 or something like that.
And don't forget to use your code word, Average Joe's Drive-In, for a chance to win a picture of your favorite Maine Cannababe. So with that being said, I am TJ Washburn, and you have been listening to Average Joe's Drive-In. I will see you sexy animals on the flip side.